All right, all right. Peace to light visible. Peace, God. Yeah. I got the sound on now, okay? I just was fooling with my niece there. Mr. Cow, I haven't seen you in a while. All right, so what are we building on this Wisdom Culture Day? I'm gonna be on here till about nine o'clock. Okay. Um, these are literally the only hours that I could get on. Again, due to a family health matter, I'm here at home conducting class. Okay, and as soon as everything is right, we'll get it there. A lot of work though. A lot of work though, and this is the best way I could continue to continue to be productive. All right, it's been a week. Let me know if you have any questions or any builds. Share them. I'm gonna get into things very brief, very quickly. 793rd. Peace. All right, let me know. Let me know. I like whether in the classroom or here only online. I always like to start with people letting me know where they are at. Peace, King Me. All right, let me know your builds. I haven't done this in a while to hear your builds. If you are on select degrees, like if you whatever degrees you're at, or I want to hear a build on those lessons. All right. Show me what you have. Show me what you have. Okay. If you've knowledged the 1 to 36, if you've knowledged um any of the 1 to 40 up to that point, let me know. All right. Show me what you have. Okay. All right. A lot of people had a lot of questions about the flag over the last couple of things. I don't know. I think, and a lot of people obviously weren't at that meeting. Um, the second meeting that was had. I just want to give these updates of questions people ask anyway. If you miss it and you ask, it'll be fine, of course. As we go along, I answer later. But I wasn't able to make the meeting until the last hour and a half, which wasn't as crucial. I'm just I could tell from first there. So I did the knowledge. I didn't speak at all during the first during during the second meeting that just happened this weekend. Um, but I still would like to go over some ideas about the flag and maybe we get some instance about it. You know what I mean? So people that know and know how to deal with it, and this world we're living in, though, this oppressed world we're in, intellectual capital has always been something easy to steal, right? And me being in hip hop so long, I have a long history of my own works being stolen. And the only recourse is to say that they only stole a weaker version of it or yesterday's version. You know what I mean? Or an insignificant portion of it, which is usually what happens, right? Peace, justice, right? Anyone can online. We're beginning this. I'll be on till 9 p.m. Anybody that has any questions, just throw the questions out there. You know what I mean? I want to go. I'll go through some things off the head. Um, I have a list of things as I go along, and I'm thinking about them, how they could get longer. This list of essentials that you should have worked already in process, figured out by these 2 months, and if not, this is where you start to um, get in contact with people that can help you. All right. Some updates just so people know, like if you're in the New York City area, I never stopped training. Just training has been pretty much put on hold because every single weekend here I am not able to go outside and train anyone because of the weather and stuff, and seems like it might be the case. um this is why in the winter your strength training and the times that you're able to train, if you train outside as I do, those particular sessions have to be as intense as possible and opportunistically taken as possible, because you never know when you get the chance. I found that to be the case so far this year in the beginning. All right, it's a quiet set over here. All right, everybody that's already commented, I want to hear your builds. I'm waiting. Yeah, how long? How long? Let me get some. Let me get something. Let's get something going over here. Now, I might add on to this, okay? So that's why I'm waiting. I have this list of crucial things in order that should be in order. That should be far more in order after the first 2 months of the year. I think I have 5 things, and I'll go through them. Um, I'm trying to think right now if I'm missing anything that I should get it in there. But onto that, talking about that meeting, I just want to summarize. I think people, their first reaction with the flag situation is to go look at the law, go look what trademarks can do, go look what type of trademark can do. Um, that hasn't been my reflex at all. You know, my reflex has been because of my experience, um, not having to do that, to just basically do the knowledge to the instances where people have brands, the instances where people have logos, anything like that. And usually, the greatest abuse of the logos of artists or whatnot, right? We can think about the Wu Tang logo and others. Is usually the artists themselves allowing other artists to use it. You know what I mean? Maybe like RZA, you letting other weaker artists to use it. We could also see examples with the Wu logo where a lot of weaker art, a lot of merch is available everywhere. So you see that all the time. Like the merch is everywhere. Um, you can't really stop it. You know what I mean? You can't stop people. I know a brother. He's a really he's a very consistent producer, MC, has his own studio. So there's a lot of avenues. He's pretty much done everything you could do in the music. To a quality level. I'm not going to say to a classic level or anything like that, but with respect to him, the quality level. And he's selling things with the Wu Tang logo, and he's has nothing to do with Wu Tang. And it just so happens to be nicer, more elaborate than other things that even the Wu Tang brand isn't selling. But I'm very pretty sure he doesn't own that Wu Tang logo. You know what I mean? And there's no getting around that. The other major thing was this: is us as a nation. It's the individuals and the way that we teach, the way that we build, the way that we speak to other people, the way that we present our works is what's going to bring the quality to things. Let's give you a good example. Okay. I'm going to put the link in there. I give this to people. I have this on PDF. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. All right. So when you look at this, anybody has this book. If you don't, I can just, send it to you. The link is so long. It's not. Jeez. Internet. Okay, here goes. I got a better link. Oh, excuse me. Right? If you open this link, this is the Knowledge of Self book. The Knowledge of Self book, collection of wisdom and science on the science of everything in life. There's a lot of people that their lives have changed. They've chosen different routes. You know what I mean? There's things that technically aren't true anymore, right? Um, the forward is done by Lord Jamal, right? Um, other artists are in there. I use the artists because they're always. Let's keep it real. The artists are always the easiest to get on. You know what I'm saying? The easiest to harass. That there's no way around that because Here's why, right? And here's why you've got to look at the artist. And this is a side note. I'm going to go on a tangent here, right? Everybody's so quick to insult artists and things like that, right? Whether they be those that represent the knowledge or those that are just crazy, they're out there and everything like that, like Kanye or something like that. But I want you to take a moment and think about this for a moment. We always answer things, and I'm saying this as someone who's been there, who has covered these artists, who's been in the ciphers. I've learned this, that it is not very useful, you see, to say this artist has done this artist has done that. They're not right and exact, right? I cancel them and everything. These may be true, right? We see Kanye do things that you might say, oh, the hell with him. I'm not going to deal with him no more, right? This may not change in your thinking. But us as the true and living gods, taking on the mantle of the knowledge of self as the true and living earth, this isn't the best way to leave it at. This isn't the best way to leave it at as an open criticism and a dismissal. Think about things like this. Everyone's understanding of things will fluctuate. If you're building right and exact, it will develop and strengthen with knowledge, more insight, more building, right? But then there's a twofold thing. You have to have the culture of that. You have to have the culture to be able to share it out to the world, okay? And one of the things about the artist is that they have to, their job isn't necessarily to share understanding to the world. Although every single artistic work has understanding. There's no way around that. Their specific goal isn't to share the understanding, meaning that this body of work that gets shared isn't intended to be right and exact scientifically in any kind of way, right? It is meant to be a project that if it was done in this said amount of time, right, the select years, months, and days, that it would reflect the magnificence, right? Hopefully, right? This is, let's say, in the highest extent, the magnificence of this artist in this period of time, packaged and delivered to the populace at their discretion of enjoyment. So here is something that the artist is doing, no matter how much we criticize him, or Kanye, anybody else. Here is something that they will go through that a lot of us aren't going through, and we have to learn to see, well, you know, I said I criticized and I said I wouldn't do what he does. But whatever I would do, I have to admit that it would be very difficult. Here's what I mean. To continue to survive, that artist has to share their thoughts, their ideas, and some of it will always have understanding. Because of whatever style of art that they do, the understanding might not be crucial. For example, a soul singer, their lyrics may not have to, even if they're the god of the earth, right? Let's say, right? Their lyrics will not pack as much understanding. The format of R&B doesn't have the format of hip hop, so it's not going to have that much understanding in it. Okay? The format of hip hop gets criticized a lot, not just because so many rappers have been influenced by us, the 5%, the gods and the earths, but also because the style of the art packs in a lot of insights, right? It's just literally a space to rhythmically say, right? Now think about this as we criticize, instead of using them as a case study and say, what would I do in that limelight? I have to share my thoughts in an artistic fashion with either a lot of understanding or a little bit of understanding, with the possibility of error always happening. Every so often, because this is how I eat. Okay. Most of us that have work, jobs, we have to do something right and exact. It's like classical music. It is the same thing again and again, same thing. So the places for us to express ourselves are often in the reactions and criticisms of others. So we are using, for example, social media to express our understanding, but mostly as a reaction to the misunderstandings that we notice every day. So the social media has made us negative builders. You might be building, you might be writing exact, but you have to take this said moment of wrong and then say, hey, he did this and it was not right and exact. See, that type of building, every single time you tweet, every single time you IG post, could always be right and exact as a response. But the problem is that every time you do that, that most likely every single moment you share understanding, you are not building. Okay. I'm gonna let that sit for a while, right? I'm gonna take a moment and I'm gonna talk to my little girl for a minute before she goes to bed. I won't have a chance, and I'll be back. All right. And I'm gonna review these builds. Share me these builds while I step away. All right, I'm back. All right. Okay, so what I was saying there is something I've always built on, because a lot of times in the history of teaching at a law school in Mecca, I'm not going to say who, but I've seen people that were part of the cliques, Wu Tang, other big groups and everything, people that were around the gods. That think of any famous MC. I don't want to keep naming names, right? And name particular names. And always said, yeah, they wasn't really right and exact. They didn't do this. And that very well may be true, right? They might have shown that they didn't have all of the principles you thought were right and exact, right? They may have made songs that you and said things in songs that you would never have done and never would say with this knowledge. But are we just criticizing them or seeing how it's done? I say this because my entire career has been in front. This history with the flag, this particular flag, it's on its own gold chain. I've been wearing this gold chain forever, since I was a teenager. This particular flag I've been wearing since 1999. It has little dents on it. Okay. Right. It has all of these things. Right. And I got this from Najee. He said, I said, I got the money for it. He said, yeah, but are you able to wear it? I said, I'm learning. And I'm not gonna wear it until I get all of the 120. And I didn't wear it until I got all of 120 though. And of course, when I got 120, I got my lapel, right? All right. I got my pin to put on my lapel. Wait, not my lapel. That's not working. Right? But I got my lapel pin. Right? And we have to start looking at people that are out there and not so reactionary. Not I've always I've strayed away from journalism that just looks at what everybody does and then has my comments on it. I could do this all day. And that's what it becomes though. So that's what mutates the review. You see? Go watch the Kanye documentary on Netflix and then say all the bad things and the confirmations of how horrible he was. Oh, I know in episode, I didn't watch it yet, by the way, and I'm not really very interested in watching it. Episode one, if I watch television and stuff, I'm really trying to as a side note, I'm really trying to catch up with things that my daughter likes, you know what I mean? So I'm trying to catch up on Attack on Titan. You know what I mean? I watch sitcoms she likes, like Big Bang Theory, you know what I mean? Or quality movies my brother puts me on too, so we could talk and stuff. And I try to watch other documentaries, But people will analyze things to confirm the negative thoughts that they had about them. Right? I keep using Kanye because he's someone that is very deserving of a negative thoughts. But here's the change here. We need to be looking at things like a king and not a Monday morning quarterback. If you don't follow football, Monday morning quarterback is a term meaning that you're analyzing things and you weren't on the playing field and you're also late because the games are on Sunday. Right? So it's the same as being a backseat driver, right? Always criticize, but you weren't there. You didn't have all of these guys rushing you and you had to throw the football at the right spot. You don't know what that feels like, right? You didn't have that. So you can have some insights, but they just may be lacking something. And what I'm saying in this real life is that I want you all to spend more time in creating works that share this understanding. You see, the biggest thing that the God did is that a lot of the gods, I realized that a lot of what Saladin has done in his life has not gotten its proper respect. It hasn't gotten its proper adulation. And I measure that adulation not in the praise, but in people saying, well, this is the school that continues to thrive. How can we do this in the model? And one of the reasons is probably because the school has its own logo. It doesn't go under the universal flag. But as he has shown, it is rooted in the way that we teach, though. It is, and it is child-centered, which is what we're all about. Why am I saying all this, though, right? Is because one of the biggest mistakes that he did, right, is that he was being reactive to something when his greatest works are proactive. You see? Every time you spend time criticizing someone else, we're not taking the proper look and say, well, he did this. What would I say? See, one of my greatest exercises, I'm going on a lot of tangents here. One of my greatest mental exercises I give you students is this. I'm going to share it with you now. Especially you young ones that are getting this knowledge. And this is, and for those that have it already, this is something to prepare for all things. People wonder why I am very articulate at the drop of a hat. I know exactly what I want to say. I can do it articulately. I could do it completely. It's because I spent a lot of time. I spent years doing this exercise, and I spent a lot of time doing it still. I constantly go through the idea, and I learned this writing an essay. This is something that my mentor, Dr. David Traverso Galarza, PhD, a man with about 7 master's degrees and a PhD, the first great learned Boricua, Puerto Rican brother that I ever met, my first mentor. And I was writing my Sunset Style column. I'm from Sunset Park. I called the column Sunset Style. And I was writing this in college. This is really the column that launched my career as a hip hop writer, journalist, historian. And I wrote something that I remember. It was the Italian club in the school, CUNY's Baruch College, was very against. They didn't like it. They felt that when I wrote, I was cursing too much. They felt it was too inflammatory. And to me, I was just writing hip hop. I was starting a new style. I wanted to write as raw as I lived it and express that in the writing. And this is the beginnings of my work. And so they wrote an editorial in the same college newspaper I was writing my column in. And of course, the other grafted editors didn't tell me that I was getting chewed out in another section of the same damn newspaper. You know what I mean? Devils. But I had to write a response. And what I learned from my mentor, Traverso, was this response can't just respond to the things that are in there, but it must respond to the possible responses that would come with what you write. So what you write will respond to what has been levied against you, but then anticipate what people will naysay about that. And then write that also in there. If you're thinking of saying this shit about me, boom, 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 and you get it all in there. Let's just say I didn't get another letter, and that was a very significant piece. Obviously in my college career, because it was very big in the college for those that read the paper. But it also showed me that with articulation, with foresight, you can respond to anything on time. So I started to develop this exercise, and I really launched it with myself when I got knowledge of self. Okay. I had to learn a lot when I started to teach at a law school. How to teach, how to deal with people coming out of nowhere to ask you questions, how to deal with people that maybe they might not want a person that looks like me or comes from the ethnic background I come from, doesn't respect the originality of it, is ignorant to it, all of these things, right? And I had to have a strength of language, a strength in the language that would be articulate and defend myself, but also teach at the same time. In other words, if someone said something in the physical classroom against me, and there are other students in the classroom already, how dare that individual become the main focus of my teaching? So instead of answering them, I answer using that person that is attacking me as a tool, as my tool, right? And now I'm flipping that degree, right? Instead of being used as a tool and a slave, I use them as a tool. And now they become the diagram of my blackboard, on my whiteboard, on my green board, because I went through all of those boards at a law school in Mecca, okay, before the whiteboard came, right? And I use them as a tool to point out, right, to point out all of the things that was wrong with what that person said. And I talk about them as if they weren't there. I've done this countless times. So why am I saying this? This can be very disrespectful to the person that is disrespecting you. And in the physical context, I'm going to tell you that you're going to need to know how not to insult. You're going to need to know how to be sincere, so that way it just doesn't become a show for the students. But you're also going to have some of this. You know what I mean? You're also going to have some of this. That's how you defend this. You're going to have some of this, because you could be as polite as you can, though. And people just don't want to hear it. They want to disrespect. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's all nems. Don't ever disrespect me. You know what I mean? So all of this has to be in play. And the major exercise that comes with that is having an exercise, a mental exercise, when you're alone and saying, what is it that I want to prove and have difficulty proving? That I know is right and exact, but I can't really say it right. Make up a conversation with someone that would say everything negative and respond to everything to combat what you were saying. I want to prove that I'm the true and living God. Let me have a mental conversation with my Father, who will never bear witness. What would he say? Then what would I say? What would he say? And what would I say? Learn to have these mental exercises of articulating. Articulation means putting into words all of the insight that you have. We have to be able to get this understanding out. If this understanding doesn't get out, all of the revelations of purpose are not going to be embedded in the culture that you live. Right? This is so important. And when you look at things, like I said, listen, I'm not on any kind of billion-dollar level, million-dollar level. I'm not even a big thousandaire in hip hop. You know what I mean? But I have done in hip hop on every level. I have written books. I have done songs. I have done broadcast shows on all platforms, internet, podcast, radio, right? I've done lectures on all levels. What I have come to learn is that every time you see someone doing something wrong, it isn't as useful to react, but say, what would I say in this situation? and be honest with yourself and say, would I be able to say the right thing? A lot of people say, listen, if I was in front of the president, I would tell him this. Is this really how it would go? Is this really how it would go? See? One of the reasons that we have so much love for the Father is that he met all of these people and he was gracious. He saved his understanding. He saved the best part. When he was the little television interview, did you see him drop a heavy, monumental jewel? All he did was emphasize the children and their place and their elegance and the intentions to the community. In the daily life, every single build I've ever had with an elder that was alive and around and with the Father, he wasn't on a podium. I still to this day have never heard someone build about the Father's yelling voice. Just think about that for a minute. One of the most greatest martial achievements of the Father was his ability to save his chi, save his energy, conduct his energy only for what was necessary. Do you realize that when we talk about great power that an individual may have, and it seems to come out like, how does he have this? It's because there is so much saving that goes on. This is something we all have to learn, to save that energy. Because remember, the original man is like the what? Sun. And the sun is. Soon, yes, sun is. So how does one save that? You see? It's that we what? We decide the seasons of our temperament. See? We decide the currents. Cold and warm. Swift and changeable. This is important. Very important. Every time that we spend time, again, I'm going to say this again. Every time, so that way it becomes something ingrained. Every time we spend time and take time to criticize on social media, we are building, usually building correctly. Let's give all benefit of the doubt. Building correctly about the erring and wrongs that we have seen. But at that moment right there, our minds are not creating something. See? And that's why whenever you build in your journals and you write in your journals, I got my journal here because I think I'm most likely going to take some time to write in my journal here. I wrote a couple of pages today. How many I wrote? 3, 4, 5. I wrote 5 pages. This is journal number 66. Whenever you take your time to critique the world that is around you, the life situations that frustrated you, the bills that you have, you might get stuck lamenting, which is fine. Letting it out in these pages, lamenting, being upset, saying what you feel in here. Keep it here. Keep it here. Not social media. Keep it here. But spend some time in these pages. Spend some time in your life saying, what can I do? What ought to be done? If you criticize a leader, I want you to take the time and say, listen, I don't like what they're doing in the Ukraine and stuff like that. They shouldn't do that. Killing is wrong. Oh, killing is wrong. I think that they shouldn't kill these people and they shouldn't do this and it's wrong. That's not the way the world ought to be. And, right. Cool. What ought to be done and how ought it be done? I'm going to show you something. I'm not justifying anything. This Ukraine, it's all devilishment. It's all power plays, all of this. But have you ever taken the mental exercise, let alone the writing exercise, and saying, Like that old Far Side song, If I Were President, right? One example. How can we make this very vital tool? For me, this is a vital tool. I've written books on this, chunks of books. I have read hundreds of books just on this. This is all I used to read. I have written songs on this. I've taken terrible pictures. I'm a terrible photographer, right? I use this for all type of things, and because of it, I'm able to talk to my daughter as I did, and I took that break and see her beautiful face, you know. And even though I can't hold her for another, I have to wait 2 weeks to hold her again. But if we were to criticize and say no to war, no to this, then what do we do about things like this? Tools is this that are made purely by bloodshed, purely by the villainy, the war, the destruction of of earth resources, to mine all of the materials, to bloodsuck our people across the globe, to put these pieces together that make these phones, that make this laptop that I am building with you here. How would we do it? How would we do it? You see? Right? This is important. This is very important. I want us to have these difficult things. And I'm going to answer that question now, because it's very appropriate. Right? The 11th letter in the alphabet. Right? It's K, king. Right? 11th letter. When we look at the 11th letter in the alphabet, we see knowledge, right? It's atrocious right now. Knowledge. Right? Knowledge of oneself and the knowledge of the people. Born the wisdom, the way that one will conduct the affairs of all. We have to read things, we have to analyze things as a king, as someone that has this knowledge of self and is analyzing things of, well, what would I do for the people? What are the sacrifices involved? What are the things that are lost? All of these things are very crucial. Okay? I cannot stress these things enough. Everything that I am saying today, I have said many times before. They are a very important crux of my teaching. Knowledge Allah, you asked, how has the martial arts assisted me in the conservation and management of your energy? It is an awareness of the energy and how it is replenished. For the Chinese, the qi is something that can be replenished, but there is qi also that drains away. There is a life qi that drains away whether you like it or not. I am not, that is why we have to conserve. However, the martial arts have shown me to be very visible, to be very aware, to actually see the withering away of your energy, to actually take note of how anger and frustration can wither away your energy. The majority of my life with this knowledge of self is very similar to the coming into awareness of my own talents. Once in my life that I realized the talents and what I intended to do, and that very heavily synced into the knowledge of self, because I started to write in 1994 and I got the knowledge of self in 1999. And so one of the things that has always been a thing with me is becoming very angry with myself for not completing all of my tasks, for not doing all of my tasks. See, this still plagues me to this day. But I realized that the conservation of the energy is also in the regrouping of the way that you engage your energy. In other words, how you were training, what order you were training, what way that you use your energy, you see, and the quality of your focus. These are things that the martial arts are absolutely certain in. If the quality of your focus is off, you will injure yourself. You will not know where injuries are. If the quality of your focus is not really paying attention and doing the knowledge to yourself, then your own injuries cannot be adjusted to and utilized. See, remember, as a martial artist, this isn't a sport. We don't take days off. And I almost never take days off when I am injured. What I do is I adjust how I will train, because real life doesn't give me that opportunity. How would I defend myself in this injured state? And of course, there's always injuries that you have to defer and have to take rest with, right? I just would like everyone, and to conclude this particular build, and of course we'll continue it, but to conclude, really the point that I was saying is to have this mental exercise, utilize it with the things, utilize it with your builds, right? And always be planning, always be changing, always be adjusting. You see, this is really crucial. I was in a big rut with my training, and I reconfigured the same routine and reconfigured it, and it was amazing. It was exactly what I needed to do. You see? Peace, Malik. Malik, yes. Malik means yes. Malik, you said peace. How do I see the sun and moon having attracting powers on our planet in practical use? Well, practical use is where you want it to be practically realized, right? And when it says the sun and moon have attracting powers, right? The sun has attracting powers on the planet, right? Because it is gravitating it. It is drawing it up, right? In the daily life, though, it is always taking everything around it and bringing it to its fullest equality. That is only done if you are doing it yourself. The life of the true and living God is that their life is a natural ladder for others. If I build, my life is a blueprint for others to understand, for others to learn from, right? The sun and moon is because everyone that you closely, intimately share with, right? That particular moon. For me, my daughter's name is Luna, right? My oldest daughter's name is Luna Luce. I named her Moonlight, right? Because this light of the sun is going to be fueling her, and she's going to be directing it in the most righteous and the most useful way for her own growth and development at all times. You see? And I can't say this, though. My children do not know me for lauding them with gifts and things of a monetary value. I'm very low on the spectrum when it comes to that. But when it comes to being able to do what they truly love and discovering themselves, just as I have discovered myself, this is what I know. You see? And so when I have always seen the moon as my child, you see, in many ways as my child that I had shared to, for that she could be a grown woman, you see? And in all respects, right? That moon becomes the earth, see? And in all respect, even in the relationships that I've had, right? Everything I gave, if it didn't turn out well, it wasn't because it was not useful. It was because it was unused or misused. But it was there. It was there. And none can deny that. So when we talk about the attracting powers of the sun and moon, it's what you directly attract. The sun directly attracts with his own works, but also with the nature that he shares with those most intimate with him. Those women most intimate with him, the young daughters, right? The women that he deals with, right? This is how I see it. And I think that's as practical as we can get, right? I'm gonna rewind here and read some of this. All right, Justice. You said today's math is wisdom, culture. Wisdom is what you know activated. Your culture is your true way of life practice. All right. There's one thing I need to detail here. You said culture is your true way of life practice. Okay, you repeated that. Allowing you to free your dome on mindful meditation. All right. Justice, if you're still here, just email me, okay? I can send you a PDF of that book. Okay? And if you want a physical copy, support the God Supreme Understanding, get a physical copy. You know what I mean? I only give it out free because I had a hand in co-editing that book. You know, so I never felt comfortable selling that. I have no problem with selling that. But at the time, I just wasn't comfortable with that because the pieces that I put in there were pieces that I would share. But even still, I can send you a PDF copy, right? But you could always support the God too and get a physical copy, right? It's your choice. You can do both. Right? One thing you said, wisdom is what you know activated. We don't want any terms to just go out the loop. So when you say activated, for a person that you're talking to, what would you mean by activated? You see? Because a lot of people say your culture is your true way of life practiced. Wouldn't that be the activation? Right? Wouldn't wouldn't that be the activation? It's so close that it doesn't, there's little differentiation. So the development of that, the wisdom in the culture, it doesn't show. Okay. All right. And I noticed you didn't bore in the math. You know what I mean? You know, there were some factions that erroneously said that this isn't what was originally done, blah, blah, blah. But every elder that I have known, every elder that was with the Father, all of them, they all did it. So this is something that, if it has nothing to do with the Father, it was something he certainly advocated or was okay with, and was a development by our elders. It's the next generation of building. And I love borning the degrees, the day's degree, because it's a philosophical exercise of taking two principles and showing how they merge together. In your life, these principles aren't lived separately. Today's culture and freedom, culture and freedom. No, the truth is that when you get two digits, you are merging those principles together. So completing them in a complete sentence of wisdom, culture, all being born in equality is one of the most grand philosophical exercises one can do. All right. And I have never been every single elder, firstborn prince, firstborn Aljamel, infinite Aljamar, Dumar Wadi, Wise Jamel, Allah B, Umala, on and on and on. Kaleem, on and on and on. I have never not been in their presence, and I have borne the math with them all. I'm just making note. So whether one must say, oh, the father didn't really do that, this and that, but we can also say that it was something that the elders that were taught directly by the father had instituted that. If you want to go there, instituted that as a way of coupling the principles. And it is not mathematically incorrect. It is not mathematically incorrect. Okay. It is not 24. Now it becomes 6. And now it's, oh, you're saying it's February 6th. No, it's the entire statement. It's the entire statement. The entire process is being made vivid in your mind. This is the beauty of it. Right? Mr. G1, you said cue up track. Think about it by Manhattan and Spanish Ran. Peace of my man, Spanish Ran. You know what I mean? That's a great brother right there. That album is very, very dope. As usual, Spanish Ram, fully produced albums. He cannot lose. All the MCs that he works with are dope. Manhattan is another dope one. All right. All right. Justice, you said my flag is dope. God, should one stay away from rocking the flag t-shirts until knowledge the entire 120 if they know how to break down the science of flag? Again, your flag is okay. Anything that you wear is presenting yourself to the world, right? So you can wear the flag if it's not the pin on the lapel pin that shows that you knowledge 120 lessons. However, how far can you go with that? You know, that mental exercise I was saying, say, listen, have this mental exercise with yourself. Somebody goes, yo, what is that? Say, it's universal flag. Universal flag? What is that? What's that? It's the flag of the nation of gods and earth. And you'd be able to go, if you could break it down and really explain to them what it is that we teach, how we build. Because when you build with an 85 that don't know, you're not going to say, listen, these points of the flag, they represent this and they that, and this angle is this angles and shit. They don't want to hear none of that. Okay? Now, if you feel comfortable to represent you as one of the gods of this nation that is learning, and you can say, I'm a learning student, but I truly am true to this and I represent this, then that's the flag. You can wear that on the shirt. Then you can do it. All right. All right. Peace of justice, complete God, peace of God. And a quick build with the God earlier. That was peace. All right. Macau, peace. Appreciate that light visual. Indeed, foresight. Okay. Foresight. All right. So we did not suffer by seeing things only in hindsight. All right. Light visual. It is like playing chess, anticipating responses. Yeah, you can't checker that shit out. You know, Cal, you said proper handling of our people, very wise move, God. Our goal is to teach those. It isn't just to show off our power. Show forth our power is different than show off our power. And every time that you gauge how you share, that's why in my build awareness square, the 5 things that you look at yourself, I put sharing as the last thing. How are you sharing? A judgment of your sincerity and your humility, right? Rome, I don't, God, I don't know. I just don't know who has these anymore. That's the only thing. I wouldn't say that anyone who could afford it could get it. You know what I mean? This problem, I bought this for $20. You know what I mean? All right. I bought it for $20. So I don't really know. I don't really know who makes them anymore. They started making them again, but they were smaller. So this is just an old piece here. It's as old as me in the knowledge. You know what I mean? Self I build, peace to the God. You said, when others observe my actions and listen to my words, they should to a degree be able to ascertain the direction of the life I am focused on living. Whether that life exemplifies chaos and disorder or balance and harmony is solely up to me. However, I choose the latter. Absolutely. Absolutely. Ooh, Malik, I will see her. This is the cycle. You know what I mean? You know, this is the cycle, right? Many say that the elders always teach me that the moon becomes the earth when they bear life. You know what I'm saying? Um, I agree with that, but I don't think that that's the only way, and and it's certainly not the only requisite. You know, just as to say, as the God isn't the God if he has children. Some gods don't have children. Why is Jamel? He never had children. You know what I mean? Um, when I think about my daughters, I think that they are the earth when they are able to deal with this knowledge, not deal with a mystery in their daily undertakings, right? Have a righteous awareness with the choices that they make. That even when they make the wrong choices, whether in their diet or anything like that, like just eat the wrong food, not pork, obviously, they're not eating pork. But if they make the wrong choice with something, that they are aware of what they could do better. That this type of awareness, though, can detach itself from that type of emotion. Then and that their lives are able to make something that is truly gratifying for themselves, but also useful to the world around them. Their immediate ciphers, and then as they become greater in their acquired power, to the outside world. You see, to the outside world. You know. That's peace, Justice. Just give me an email, Justice, and tell me. Just give me. Tell me what books you need and everything like that, and anything, because Justice, I don't know which Justice you are or anything like that. Give me a whole synopsis. Let me know this classroom. You don't really become my student by just building with me here. You become my student by talking to me outside of this classroom cipher. All right. Supreme Scientist, peace to the God. One of the one of the insightful ones. All right. Malik, you said wisdom is discernment, so we must use it when see another person total some activity or activities culture to have quality, balance. Okay, okay. I.e. example, a person dietary little language must discern the beauty of it. Okay. In the use of things, we are discerning, right? In the use of things, we are discerning, right? Like I was saying before about how we defend this flag. I mentioned the Knowledge of Self book. Everything fluctuates. A lot of the people that wrote it in the Knowledge of Self book, they're not the God, they're not the earth. You know, Lord Jamon's talking flat earth, but he had wrote the forward to the book. Do we destroy the book? Does Supreme Understanding, a steady and high level builder in this nation, does he get canceled? I don't know. Do I get canceled because I edited some of the stuff? You know, right? Do we get upset because things aren't like correct anymore in some ways? Like right? No, it's a document. It's a document. Ah, that's you. That's you, God. Okay, peace of the God, Justice. My brother, I didn't know that was you. I was like, you be changing the name on here, man. I didn't know that you had Justice on the name, man. Nah, Dark Kim, they're not having me deal with the flat Earth. I was making the example. I was saying, Dark Kim, that like this whole flag protection thing doesn't really protect anything, and then sometimes like you're always gonna have things that are not right and exact. You know what I'm saying? Over time, you know the knowledge. I was saying, Dark Kim, that I co-edited the Knowledge of Self book, and Lord Jamal wrote the forward. Like, so do we go back? Do I get sued now because I partook in the book? You know what I'm saying? Right? We know that things changed. Everything fluctuates and shit. You know, some people might truly see something one day, but then we realize later they just believed it, so they don't believe it anymore. You know what I'm saying? Right? Look at the on a personal note, the Knowledge of Self book has an essay from the one of the mothers of my children. Right? She's not my earth anymore, but her story of how she got knowledge and how it engaged her, still true, right? It is what it is. You know, so like that's what led this whole conversation about reacting. You know, like we spend so much time reacting and we don't take the main exercise of reacting. It's like, if I was in his situation, what would I do? Most of us, I'm going to keep it real. Most of us have not I've always been saying this because as things become more digital, people make more independent music. And I know Dark Kim has experiences, but like most younger people, even artists that are younger, don't have experience with this. They have no experience though telling someone, no, I will not sell out like that. Telling the sellout in front of telling the man in front of their face, no, I won't sell out like that. I'm not doing that. You know what I'm saying? Most of us don't have that experience. If you make music, you make your own music and you put it out there. You're your own A&R. Nobody's manipulating your music. No one is telling you this sucks. This is not EQ'd right. You get that all later. You know? So like when we criticize things, we have to be able to take the time and say, if I was in it, look, Kanye looked like a damn fool in front of President Trump. But I'm telling you, there was practice to be had, because when you are around people of high stature, there is a false energy. You know, when you're around the gods, you get this great energy and everything. There's a great energy. And I'm telling you, there are false versions of this energy. And when you're around the sellouts, the hobnobs, the big wigs, you feel that energy. Some of us, luckily, we immediately get queasy. I get queasy. I get stomach aches. You know what I'm saying? It disgusts me. But other people, you might get fooled. Like, yo, this guy's not so bad. Look, he's doing it, and oh man, he's doing it big. This is what the people like. You say you don't like this song, but have you ever been in front of a stadium? Are you willing to say that in front of a stadium where 100,000 people are loving it? It's the same thing, man. What is our metal? I'm gonna write that word down. I love that word. The metal. The metal. Right? You have to constantly practice the metal. What you respond. That's why we study with mathematics. Right? What's the way that I would live out my culture if I was around what? This area. Right? How do I show forth my equality? Right? Dark Kim, you said it protects what Saladin does for money, G, which is the same thing we do for no cost. Yeah, you know, and that's the whole thing, Dark Kim, because I said what he was trying to do looked like it was good for him, but it actually is really pretty not very useful for him either. You know what I'm saying? Some of us are protecting the flag from whack rappers and shit like that without any of this shit. You know what I mean? I don't know, Malik. What do you mean, Lord Jamal soundtrack? Oh my goodness. You know? You know, I can't help but think that in also ways too is the ego of your own ideas, rushes itself to be knowledge. You know what I'm saying? The right and exact idea is knowledge, but only known after you apply, go through wisdom, get an understanding of it, and live it out as a culture. But Lord Jamal and Saldi made similar mistakes. You know? If you have a theory, if you have a concept, right, that is not seen by anyone else, so the first thing you do is to take it to the learned people and test it out among them. You know? I did this constantly. I said, I have a crazy idea. Let me go where? The classroom. The classroom is the laboratory. Even when you're not in the classroom, because we have a nation where we have elders that teach us, though, whether they be your enlightener or other big brothers like Dark Kim, others like the elders you go up to, like I would go to Savior Knowledge, or I would go to my enlightener knowledge me. I have this crazy idea. What if, right? What if we go to, you know what I mean? And that's the thing, Dark Kim, you're 100% right. The disrespect is that he didn't see us as the learned people. You know what I mean? So nobody thought of this stuff. Nobody was around. Like, and you know, I saw this too. I want to comment on this. I didn't comment on this though. This is something I heard in the meeting, and I'm not going to say who it was. And they said, why do we have to go and take everything through a law school of Mecca and blah blah blah? It's not the place. It's what people have done at the place. You see, it's not the place. It's what people have done at the place. You know what I'm saying? At a law school in Mecca, right? There's already a history of people actually having to physically, verbally, in a classroom setting, in a neighborhood setting, protecting the corners of the building and the building itself from those that manipulate and teach otherwise, from those that sell grafted versions of our teachings, for those that sell the flag. I told there was a funny story where I had some new type of, I don't know, Israel. He had the robe on, the white robe and everything. I thought he was Muslim, but then he was in class. He had a fez on, and he had like the flag with the 7, and he had the moon. I didn't see a star, and then he had the points, but he didn't have 8 points. He had like 50 points. And then he comes into the classroom, and he says, "You teach at the school, right? I need you to teach me what you know, so that way I could teach everyone else, though, how they should worship me." I said, "Nigga." This is the kind of crazy how he talk about how he could teleport, all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Because he's part of the lost tribes of Israel, so he could teleport himself to Israel. And he just happened to be there that day. You know what I'm saying? He just happened to be there that day. You know what I mean? Right? I told him, if you know what's good for you, not only are you going to leave, right? And I said, what I did was, just like I said before, I used him as a tool to explain to the classroom what it looks like when things go wrong. You know what I'm saying? What it looks like when things go wrong. Right? I'll say this, Justice. Everyone that is not willing to adhere to my decree that we are there to challenge each other with scientific reasoning and not emotional pleas, then they get the boot. Anyone could come in there and listen and disagree with anything that I say, especially the well-intentioned student. But if you're not going to do that, gotta get the boot. You know what I mean? Right? Gotta get the boot. Yeah, you know, like he really was bugging out. Like this wasn't a conversation that was had because we're too inferior. We talked about protecting that flag daily. That was one of them, you know, as a young student in the early 2000s, that was one of, you know, at the same time, because I'm one of, I had a rare, I had a rare duality. I was a young student, but also a young teacher all at the same time, right? And the thing about it, God, right, is that these are conversations that were always had because we had to constantly protect the flag, as if no one ever came up with the idea, yo, you know what I mean? And the answer was always very simple with all nation business. The greater you engage them for their weaponry of defense, the more that you are tied to their reality. It's very simple. You know what I'm saying? It's very simple. You know what I mean? Darkim, you said, oh, wait, Jesse. Oh, okay. Darkim, you said my older return, God. Before she left with y'all with Darkim, your savior. So shout out to a legend. If it wasn't for her, none of it would have happened. Word is bond, God. Word is bond. Indeed. Remembered in perfection. Word is bond. Right. Absolutely. Peace to God, A Preem. Another artist that puts the flag on his work. It never has any problems. You know what I mean? Right? Never has any problems. Right? Yeah, it's just crazy because um I really think that a lot of the gods and earths in this meeting really, too many of them left with the impression that this was the wrong thing to do for all the wrong way to do it, but we've got to do something. Enemies are approaching and they're at the main gates, you know what I'm saying, right? And this is not true, you know what I'm saying. It's not the true, you know. Right now my take on Russia and Ukraine is very simple. You know, it's always about power play, taking over land, you know what I mean, controlling, you know what I mean. And there is much to be had by taking over the Ukraine. Obviously they wouldn't engage in it if it wasn't, you know. Oh, I see you guys. But you know, I'll say this about the Russia Ukraine. This is why I was saying that this entire everything that we have in this society now, we have to admit that the majority of it though is the result of blood and death. And I said the phones, the systems that we have, the materials, they're all done by bloodshed of our people. You know what I'm saying? And so it's very important to realize that we can't just say war is wrong, this and that. What we have to do is say how and what and in how concrete ways you would actually change. We'll never have a new system of government if we don't decide how it does. I write about this constantly in my journal. How I think things should be localized and how government can expand from there. You know what I mean? Because this is my thoughts on it. All right. But right now, it's really just a power play and a very significant power play from Russia. You know what I mean? And it also shows you that whether, you know, whether Democrat or Republican, though, these presidents have been exactly the same, you know? And that's why when the Democratic president, though, is in office, always be wary because that's when the change that affects you personally is about to be instituted. During the Republican reigns of presidency, that's when they speak about what they want to do. The Democratic reign is when it actually gets done. You know what I mean? Dog Kim, you said not for nothing, Sunez. I had to come out tonight because I'm about to do Diabolical. I never stream on Thursdays because whatever I was going to say, you already said it. Tonight, I'm about to do a tribute show to my mom as soon as you get up. That's beautiful, God. I'm with it, God. I'm with it, God. I'm off at the born hour, God. So, like, you know what I mean? I'll tell you something, though, since that topic is, my old earth return to the essence and in the knowledge God year. So it's been a few years, and my entire life though, and some of the people to see it though and see how it works, like Dark Kim was there and everything. My entire life is really about discipline. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't about if I didn't know something, then I would wait until I knew it. You know what I'm saying? Like for example, I knew I wanted to be vegan, for example, right? And I waited to find the right foods before I just said, when the right foods come, I'll eat. And I learned how to fast. I learned how to not eat. You know what I mean? I learned to discipline myself to wait for the best thing. I learned to value myself. This is why the diet is so important. I realized that what I was eating, though, whether it might be good for someone else, it wasn't really doing anything for me. It's not like it was making me grow, right? And it also wasn't giving me muscle, right? So that was the decisions that I made. But everything I did was in a disciplined approach and refusing to not be disciplined. That every time there was a way to question myself, it was when the discipline went awry. And every single talent that I have been able to born out has been a result of that discipline that my old earth taught. You know what I mean? That's all she taught me. You know what I mean? She made me a writer by writing things that I didn't want to write, writing book reports of books that got nothing to do with school. You know what I mean? Making me read 20 pages and then going through the book and those 20 pages and saying, well, what was the second paragraph on the third page you read about? And I'd be like, I have no idea. And then she'd make me read it again. Just really drilling me. And that kind of razor sharp focus lovingly infected the way I did things, everything with care. You know what I'm saying? Because I have this saying, I've always said that to me, especially in relationships with women, to me, carelessness is devilishment. It's the things that you don't knowledge that become the devilishment. And the more love that you show is the more care that you take into things, the details of things. You know what I'm saying? The things that you see, the little things that you notice. This is what makes a relationship grand, because the more things that you notice means the more things that you knowledge, which means the more chances of understanding more. This is what builds a relationship. These are the things that my older taught me. You know what I mean? And before I was told wonderful phrases like be right and exact, she was telling me it's got to be right or not done at all. Not you, totally useless if you do it. So I do things right and exact. These things parallel, and I saw them happen again and again. She made me read 20 pages every day. Of course, I read way more a day as a requirement. But then when I met my Seagung, Bobby Whitaker, I said, Bobby, how much do I have to train when I train? How much Kung Fu I have to do to get good? He said, every time you train, you got to do 20 minutes of Kung Fu every time. That's setting 20. For the last 20 plus years, I've done 20 minutes of Kung Fu every single session. This is what my old earth taught me. They don't even know. They don't even understand. She never understood how it was her life teachings that brought me to seek out. I didn't want to deal with a mystery God because I didn't know who it was. I needed to know. So I found out who are the people that might know or say that they know. This is how I got the knowledge. No one gave it to me on a block. I wasn't on the block that had it. You know what I mean? I was in a Puerto Rican neighborhood. You know what I mean? I first heard about it from Day Son, and we were in college. We were in college together. You know what I'm saying? And all I had was songs saying that this God. And I said, if he could say he's God, that nigga. If that nigga say he God in a song, I definitely could write this shit that I'm God in the piece. First time I told my earth that I was the true and living God, she said, well, you know what? I'm the one that taught you all this shit. I'm God too. And I was like, nah, now Cypher. I was like, now Cypher that. And then you know what? I said, you know what I mean? I used to try to explain that she's the earth. She had my old earth had a real green thumb. You know, she could bring to life any kind of plant possible. You know what I mean? Real way with greener, plants and flowers and everything. And I used to tell her that, no, the original woman is the earth. You're the earth, because she goes, I'm not dirt. I'm not dirt. And I said, you know that ain't just dirt. Even that dirt isn't just dirt. You know what I mean? Yeah. Let me tell you something, Malik. The discipline rewards itself. So at this age, though, I've been disciplined so long that the discipline has rewarded itself. Every time I get injured, these injuries heal when I go work out more. I try to rest. I say, look, it's injured. I'm going to rest. It hurts more. I go train. It goes away. You know what I'm saying? I used to always have sinus and stuff. Well, I train heavy. All of it comes out. You know what I'm saying? I clear out. You know what I'm saying? And then I refuse to take their medicines. They're chemicals, they're poisons, right? And so I suffer more. But as I'm suffering, though, it also foments my rebellion. Well, fuck you. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't make me take the shit, and I'm gonna be good. So my discipline rewards me. You know what I'm saying? It rewards me because at the end of the week, I have written 20 pages. Like, this is a regimen I stopped because I was writing and publishing so many things, and I started to write again. I said, the more I practice in here, this is like a Steph Curry effect. These are the shots in the gym. No one sees this stuff, but little pieces and stuff I use. These are the Steph Curry shots. 20 pages every year, 1,000 pages. So when I write articles, though, they come to me faster. Words come to me faster. So that discipline rewards me because I don't get stuck. People ask me a question, I don't get stuck. You know what I mean? The discipline rewards me. You know what I mean? I eat the right way. I do all this training, though. Shit, I better see some kind of abs, though. The discipline rewards me because I didn't eat those damn cookies that were really good, man. You know what I'm saying? I skipped out on them. And you know what? It rewards me, too, because my daughter is learning to be a baker. So it gives me even more discipline because I can say I'm not eating anybody's pastries. I don't give a shit. I'm only eating hers. So when hers come, that's the cheat meal. You know what I mean? Discipline rewards. You know what I mean? The more you do it, though, the more it rewards you because I have all these works. I wasn't going to do this book, The Reel of 2021 and 2020, because it was too long, too many albums. It was over 400 albums. And I know I missed some. And I said, I knew I would miss some. You always miss some. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. And the bulk of that book was written in 2 months. And just listening deeply. And saying, I have to get it out as soon as possible. And from not really 2 months, I'd say from when I really said I'm doing it, from mid-October. So let's say all of October. So I wrote a 400-page book, October, November, December, and then January. So in those 4 months, that's when I wrote it. I listened to hundreds, thousands of songs. I said, fuck it. Because at the end, I'm going to be able to hold this fucking book and be on that journey. You know what I mean? You do the things during the day that'll make you sleep good at night. You know? Dark Kim, you said I love all the sentiments. I definitely feel the love, but she's not gone because I'm still here, and the water that she poured on the seed that was me is still here affecting reality. So she's still here, just like firstborn Prince and Allah. Word is bond. Word is bond. You know, and it's just amazing that we have we're able, the things that that these people left are so profound. You know, that we have their nature, we have so many other sentiments, we have so much of their vibe. You know, you know that careless is devilishment. I've been saying that since my first long-term relationship didn't work out. And you know what? It was a understanding born out of bitterness, but it became something that I said, you know what? What is my carelessness to myself, but also what could I, how could I do this better? You know? Right. Knowledge a lot. You said there was a queen in the Zoom last week who spoke on her seed, not wanting to rock with the nation for various reasons. Said we're all talking no action. Do you recall her build? Here in the class, I think so. That was a while ago. Uh, I don't know if it was in my class, but I remember somebody asking that too. People ask it. That's a very generic thought. You know what I'm saying? That's very, and I think she said that in the, yeah, there was a Earth that said that in the Zoom meeting, the first one. Um, I'll say this. You know what I'm saying? I'll say this, right? I don't teach anybody to be in this nation. Everybody that's in the nation will decide for themselves. But what we're really in this nation for is giving a groundwork for reality of humanity to live with a knowledge of themselves that is true. So it doesn't matter what any organization of this nation says. You know what I mean? Everything has to be right and exact with that individual. And to me, every time one says that, they have to build themselves. Every time I say, well, you know what? I'm a 5%er. I'm part of, nation though. I actually am saying that because I want you to judge the entire worth of the nation by my own work. So I don't give a shit what anybody else did. You know? And now and I'm saying that from someone who knows certified 1000% builders, people I look up to, people who are supreme, people that are great as Darkim. But I don't go, no, but Darkim is a nation, and so is him, and he and her, and they're great. Nah, I'm in this shit. I'm fucking gonna say my shit is always right and exact. I'm in this shit. I'm in it. I'm part of the nation. So that means that it is valid. You need to check this shit. You know? You need to check this shit. That shit is right and exact. Right? A lot of great comments in here. I'm mad slow to get up to them. Dark Kim, you said Prince and Allah and y'all are my universal family. My mother is part of my human family, and without her, I never would have been able to take my place in the universal family. Actual fact, right? King C, you said I actually told my mother that you're the reason I'm God. That's usually a compliment. Sometimes it doesn't go as a compliment in the beginning. Indeed, indeed. Dark Kim, you said I went through that too soon as me and my grandmother rested in apartment 2A, and whenever she used to try to tell me something, I used to tell her she was trying to put the wisdom before the knowledge. All right. Hey, I don't know if we're talking about the queen that was in the Zoom, but I'm making the assumption that all of the women that were in the Zoom meeting are the Earths. I'm giving that respect just to the ones that are there. You know what I mean? All right. Bond Supreme, you got your oh, that's peace. That's peace. You know, I'm willing that it takes you to all the great music that I had the honor of covering and great artists that I had of building it, including A. Preem and Dark Kim. They're in these books. You know. Rome, you said discipline, determination, dedication is important. All mental work you must proceed with your inner strength. That is your medicine for longevity in the life journey. That's another build from the question. I'm gonna say something about longevity, right? I was telling my physical brother, I have a twin brother, and we always find Skip Bayless really funny. You know what I'm saying? The sports commentator, and he's grafted. He's a white man. And a lot of people, they'll disagree with him because he's white. They're not really trying to like listen to him, and that he's not a player. But I look at him, and I'm seeing somebody that is training profusely for himself in great shape. For he's grafted, like I said, he's in great shape. 70 years old, and he does what he loves, and he does it with the highest level of intensity. And we'll judge whether we like the quality of it or not, but it's the highest level of intensity. And I don't, as far as longevity, I don't bear witness that we should be in our 60s and just frail. I don't bear witness that we should be in our 70s and just be on walking sticks and all of that. We have to change this. We have to be in tip-top shape and be at the top level. And this is why the preservation, the conservation, and the proper use of our energy and cultivation of it is so crucial. You know what I mean? This is the goal. We're looking for like, oh, but it doesn't matter. I've worked hard. By this age, I'll get this pension. By this age, I'll have this saved up. I know that my perspective is different. I'm a writer in many ways, and I'm an artist, and I have that mentality. Me and Day-Sun, people see us, we look like yin and yang mentality, but we have something that we share, and we have a very idealistic, artistic creed. And I truly think that in this society, none of that is guaranteed. What is guaranteed is that we, the creator, will always be able to work and create. And so we have to keep our bodies, we have to keep our mental health, we have to keep everything top shape, because this is a jungle. And when you watch jungle documentaries, though, when is the lion get to stop? He has to keep hunting until he can't hunt no more. That leg gets scarred up, he has to keep moving. He sheds something, he got something gashed, he has to keep moving. He has to keep getting food, he has to keep providing, he has to keep doing shit. This shit doesn't end. This fancy world, we just saw, look, when we saw Trudeau in Canada, they didn't want the truck drivers to be protesting, and so they went, and all the GoFundMe account, the major GoFundMe account that was for them, they just ransacked that and took it all out. They stole it from them. What is legal can be made illegal in a heartbeat. The only thing that is guaranteed is that you continue to build and create. Nothing else. Nothing else. You continue to build and create. Now, you said that's another build aside from the question whether she has math or not, or is it queen? Okay, all right. You build on the seats comment. That's true. Preem, you said economics is one way. However, this is self-centered and male-centered. Teaching the community is secondary. I agree. I agree with you, Preem. In the context of that meeting, though, it wasn't. I don't really know who was able to make the discernment of who gets to be in the meeting or not. You know what I'm saying? I think that the best ways to have the Earths engage, because a lot of Earths they had a God, and maybe he wasn't right and exact, or they don't deal with each other anymore, and they're still a nation, and their children are only getting these teachings from them. And so they ought to be able to feel comfortable to come into the nation. You know what I'm saying? And bring their children. And to me, that's the step that she should take. When you see when a single mother sees that her child, especially sons particularly, is not right and exact, the best thing they can do is find that young boy a mentor, someone to teach him. And if you have this knowledge and you just say the nation isn't doing shit or not, no, Stop taking it from a national standpoint. Stop looking at the macro. When you judge our nation in the macro, you really do it a disservice. When you judge it in the micro, that's where you see all the worth, the value, and the intercommunal possibilities. You know, that's when you say, listen, there's definitely a God that could be a mentor to this child, and let's look him up and stuff like that. There's no way that you can't find that. You know what I'm saying? No way that you can't find that. You know, look at Minister Freedom, right? He's doing stuff that we all talked about doing, and Dumar used to talk about the directory all the time and being able to network and get people taught everywhere and stuff. And now, because of technology, because of his will, that has taken on another approach and more effective approach. And that's just one example. You know what I'm saying? We keep judging things on a macro level, and sometimes that's not the way to go, especially when this nation, no matter what anybody says, is still, you know, in many respects, I think the best word for it is um not completely, but it's very clandestine. You know, it's a nation that is oppressed by the outer reality of the society that it is in, due to its teaching that confronts the society, right? We teach that there's no mystery God. That alone is enough. It doesn't say that, it doesn't even matter yet who we say is God. But the fact that we say that God can be identified is enough. And the fact then, couple it, that we identify as like the most hated individual on the planet, the original man. You can never judge this nation by the macro. You have to judge it by the micro, the individual level of excellence. You know what I'm saying? Anything else is incorrect to me. You know? But I do bear witness that it is self-centered and male. You know, I don't know if self-centered is the correct word though, because that sin is a synonym for selfishness. But it is based on individual mentorship is really the word there, and male-centered teaching. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's peace, justice. That's peace. This one is a hell of a document, though. You know what I mean? I definitely have a ridiculous batch, and because you know what I'm dealing with, justice. It's been hard to like get them all to the post office because I can't just walk to the post office where I'm at. You know what I mean? Right? Dog Kim, you said they didn't pour all that into me for a reason, and you know what they're gonna have to do to stop me from living that out with this bond, God. All right, this thing skips on me all the time. All right, let's see. There's some, you guys are building with each other, so that's peace. I just want to read the ones that are right now. I got that it was the one with Sardinia. All right. A Preem. I definitely get A Preem's point. I think yeah. I don't know if that you directed that at A Preem, but you said, let me put this way, you said economics. How do you see unified economic empowerment with a nation with a consolidated effort to build economic stability? I think one of the things in the nation is that we're always trying to build economics for the entire nation. I think that we should localize it and focus it on each level, you know. And if we build up each family individually that has this knowledge, then it'll extend outwardly, you know. Malik, you said, was determined idea instilled in him from birth or when he was playing with the two pieces of steel? I think that obviously it was destined that he would have a determined idea. You know what I'm saying? And then the particularities come as he goes along and he sees the two pieces of steel. Right? Dark Kim said because of the particular post I'm a custodian. That's what's so shy about the trademark. I'm not the leader. I'm only holding the baton for the babies. Some of us win our leg of the race, like yourself, Sunez. That's peace, God. Yeah, I definitely see that. You know what I mean? I'll tell you something though. Like I made this point last session, Dark Kim, that when I was getting knowledge, I learned that everything that I was doing, that if I was gonna share it with the nation, I had to bring it to the nation. And I would bring everything I was building, magazine, newspaper. I wrote this, that. And that's why, like, if people see my works now, they say, oh, he puts the flag on this, he throws it with that, he's in. But that's because I went through a long, rigorous process, knowing what is valuable, what is allowed, what is going to be useful. You know what I'm saying? And even if you see, like, it's my style as an artist and writer that the way that I conduct myself, it obviously represents this as a nation. So there's not like some of the great artists that are in this nation, that they valid in this nation, their artwork needs more of a freedom. You know what I mean? More of a freedom to not overtly represent all the time. They need freedom to curse, to say savage things, to be more freewheeling. You know what I mean? And these are conversations I've even built with in my own podcast with SDNAC and the God SDNAC, you know. And so every artist is different, you know what I mean? But at the same time, you don't see, so you see a balance. And those like himself, they just know when to use the flag, know when to show, when to reveal things, when to show it. They just know. It's not innate. It is not a feeling. They're around. They're around. So they know. They engaged. They had the great teachers. Yeah, I'd say that, Dark Kim, you argue. You know, there's such a difference, though. That's why I say the classroom or whatever cipher you're with the elders, that is the laboratory. Say your crazy shit in the cipher. Don't don't go on social media and say shit. A lot of you students, I despise when I see my students, and I tell y'all all the time, when I see y'all write builds on the mathematics on the damn Twitter or the Facebook. Hold that, save that. You know what I mean? Save it. Like all you did was show that you may know it, but it's not teaching. It's not teaching. It's showing. Showing is not teaching. You know what I'm saying? And in those forms, you don't need to show. You know what I mean? Right? Right. We all made bore witness from knowledge was made born. I'm not gonna say he argued, but just extending my tree. Allah didn't argue 100%. Agree 100% with Malcolm and Elijah. Word. Indeed. Then he went and showed and proved. That's what everybody got to do. See, soon as you come on every week after all this time, because you know it's each and every day, each and every way. Word. Bond Supreme, you said that's peace. I didn't want to work out tonight, but now I'm definitely gonna gym discipline. Word is Bond. Listen, real quick workout tip, right? Whenever you don't want to work out, though, change your workout. Not necessarily in the things you do, but make it shorter and more intense. If you're like, yo, it's late, it takes all this time, though, then do something intense. A lot of you can't put a timer for one. I'm telling you, real word. A lot of you wouldn't be able to put a timer for 1 minute and do full push-ups for that whole minute without arching your back, getting to the dog position. None of that. You got to stay on top. You cannot bend that back. 1 whole minute. A lot of people don't have the time to work out, but I guarantee you, if you concentrate your workout when you don't have time or don't feel like you want the time. A lot of times I don't want to work out because you know what I want to do? I want to read. I want to read. A lot of times I lose time because my daughters, they talk to me and then I'm talking for a long time and so I'm with them. So, this is what I do, right? And it takes the time away from what I would have been doing. So, right? Concentrate your workouts. Make them shorter, more intense. Right? Darkim, you said these people have to understand that it's actually their leg of the race. You do this as a labor of love. Where the reciprocation live at? Because I was there when you receivers the life that you're reciprocating. That people got to step up based on how much you've given them. They have to require themselves, like we took it upon ourselves to require that we do this. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's why, like, in this digital form, you students have to engage me, but you have to engage the world. You have to start engaging. How will you create? How will you build? How will you set up? What are the things that you'll make for the world? Because this world, the way social media is set up and everything is so vital, it sets us up to be very, again, like the theme of this class, very reactionary. And reactionary is only part of the build. Part of the build is, it's very easy to say what a Kanye might have done wrong. It is very easy to say how racist Trump is or whatever, you know what I mean? How bumbling Joe Biden is. But what would you do if you had this reality? If you were in their shoes, what would you do? What would you be sacrificing? Knowledge, you said from judging us from the micro, meaning we should never judge the larger collective macro. Is there ever any better benefit in judging the macro? No, we should see the macro. Obviously, there's always things that flaw, right? Whenever the macro adjusts to perspective, because the parliament might be a macro versus the individual ciphers you've been building with. And you could see we have good ciphers, but not good parliaments. So now you see a discrepancy. So you're always judging the macro. I'm not saying to be ignorant of the truths of the macro. What I'm saying is that things are built up slowly, like the Tao says. Things are slowly built step by step. You know what I'm saying? You know, like I said, I have a poetry book that is gonna come out. I'm waiting for the cover. That's almost 160 pages of poems. Those poems weren't written in a day. They're creative works. I had to spend a lot of time writing them, but they were written over the years and collected. I wrote that 400-page book, but that was written word by word. Word by word. Everything is built slowly, but surely. And when I look at it, it's 8,000 words, 9,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000. And after I get to like 20,000, 30,000, then I'm like, yo, this is already good, big enough to be a quality book. And now I'm off to the races. You know what I mean? Now I just have to make sure the shit fits in the binding. You know what I mean? It'd be too big, right? But everything is built up slowly. That's why I said focus on the micro. Focus on the micro. You know what I mean? And I think that the way we teach, though, we be teaching for comfort too much. I'm gonna tell you what I mean. My experience has been mostly, let's keep it real, I have taught people everywhere and have students in all situations. I've met people, but the majority, 90% of my students are from the classroom at a law school in Mecca. And that means I did not say, come to my class and I am here. I didn't pick them. A lot of us build with people that we pick, and we're looking for people that we want to hang out with, young people that are cool, young people that we want to hang out with, and those are the people. We have to learn how to teach people that are builders and not necessarily people that we would deal with, we would hang out with, people that we are cool with, all of that. We have to build with the positive builders and see that in all the students that you engage. And that's something that is very lacking. And I'm saying that affects the macro because we just have it turns clicks. It just makes a nation of click. And we basically get the same psychological profile. You know what I'm saying? I'll tell you this. Have you ever built if we're out there teaching, how many students have we built with and taught that don't really have problems with oppression? So, well, everybody have problems with oppression, right? Not every original person. Not everybody is under the gun. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody is profiled. Some of the brothers, and I'm not talking about Latinos, some of the brothers that are African American are passing. They get by. Some of the people are successful, so they don't have that daily thing. They already learned to be civilized, right? How do we scoop up these different peoples? How do we build with all these peoples? Sometimes it's also the nature of the approach of the teaching. I have to teach them this particular knowledge of self, that they are the true and living God. See, teaching in a lot of school, because I don't choose this, I don't always choose who comes in. Many people are taught varying things. Civilization, awareness of all things around us and what really this is. Righteousness, right ways of doing when they realize this, and what ways of conducting themselves when they realize and they've taken this red pill, right? Gotten out of the matrix. But then only a very select few get this knowledge of self truly, where they're saying, hey, you are the true and living God. Let's start to study why and start to do this research on the sciences. That's a different level. And a lot of us don't understand, though, that our percentages are supposed to be slow. We think the percentages are supposed to be high because we go out there teaching people that we like. I spend most of my time teaching people on a level that has nothing to do with like and dislike. Right? If I get students now that come into the classroom knowing of me, it's because they see things that they like about me. That don't mean that I like you. You know what I mean? But it certainly doesn't mean that I don't have love for you. You know what I'm saying? Right? And as I learn about these different ways of life, though, then I start to grow alike. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is, like and dislike is not much has to be taken out of the equation as we go along. This will be fruitful as we go along. All right. I hope I explained that macro thing. Oh, yeah. No. Dark Kim, I didn't say that going outside is not key. Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? It's just the way I've been working, the products I've been making. I just been in the laboratory. You know what I mean? And the way that I've been teaching the Kung Fu, I haven't been at the school teaching the Kung Fu, but I've been teaching out here. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm all the way out in Staten Island now. So I've been teaching at Fort Wadsworth. You know what I mean? Especially in the summers when I get the students to really come out. But I just haven't had a schedule where I could get down to the school, you know what I mean? And be there on a more regular basis, you know what I mean? Because I would love to teach, and I never taught like martial arts because there were so many able, bodied martial artists teaching and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But yeah, definitely though, God. To me, the most important is because a lot of my teaching ends up being taking the student out of the classroom into the real life, as opposed to the most common way of 5% teaching in the history of teaching people outside and taking them through the classroom and then out back and back out, or bringing the classroom outside. You know what I mean? And that's why I said I was literally, Dark Kim. It's a statistic for myself. Like that's a life statistic that I have to bear witness to. You know what I mean? But I tell you though, because of these COVID times and because of where I'm living and stuff like that, and how I've made my money on just this pen, just all I'm literally in like an intense laboratory. You know what I mean? But maybe I get this really going in the summer, I definitely could teach. You know what I mean? I would definitely love to teach the younger children, because like I said, I charge you rates for teaching you Kung Fu. But if I teach Kung Fu for like the children at the school, it's definitely going to be, free, And like I said, I always find, as far as all the martial arts stuff, I find Wing Chun to be the greatest because it takes no athletic ability, and that's why it's such a good foundation. You could be a terrible athlete and use Wing Chun. Even with boxing, A lot of the even other martial arts certainly Muay Thai and stuff like that, you got to be willing to get banged up. You know what I mean? Muay Thai will crash into something before it deflects. You know what I'm saying? And in boxing, you know what I'm saying, you got to have good punches and stuff. You don't have to have good punches. You just have to throw a lot of them on Wing Chun. You know what I mean? You could get by with chain punching, you know, and good deflection, you know. Um, if you're the worst athlete of athletes, you know what I'm saying? But so I think it's useful to teach anybody, you know, as a precursor and stuff like that, you know. But yeah, that was my reason, Doug Kim. It's not necessarily, I'm not saying that I gotta get back outside. I have to always, you know what I'm saying? Um, you know, I think it's mandatory. Most of the teaching that I've been doing outside over these last 10 years has been in these hip hop ciphers that Saladin was so scared that, you know, would teach, you know, and I keep it real. That's why you hear a lot of these artists and their lyrics on the underground, they're not saying crazy shit about this nation. It's because I'm out there. I'm out there building with them. I'm telling them, you know what I mean? Teaching them things, you know, where I don't get credit as having a said student because I'm just teaching. You know what I mean? But being out there is crucial. You know what I mean? It's just now I go out there with my works and then also with everything else, you know. Yeah, that's right though. Yeah, we are definitely the elders now. You know what I mean? I was noticing that, you know. My daughter keeps mentioning it too. Right. That's crazy, God. That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they don't have the understanding you have now that I've been exposed to the whole country, the internet. I'm seeing that. I notice that don't understand the Puerto Rican history. They don't understand the Puerto Rican experience under the Spanish Empire. The Mexican experience under the Spanish Empire is different word. See, in New York City, the Puerto Ricans already had experience with America. When they came here, they sided with black people. We had a difference, but that was our business. Absolutely, God. Yeah, that was we were just building on that complete. We were just building on that what Dark Kim just said today. Knowledge, you said, I see that, God. That's peace, makes perfect sense. So let me ask you, is it about getting out of our respective comfort zones? It is, though. Are we looking for people that can learn something? Or are we looking at people that we like that could learn this knowledge of self? You know what I'm saying? We have to be able to get both of those kind. The people that we like, that would be powerful with this knowledge of self. But also we have to get practice just teaching people things. Teaching people things. You know what I'm saying? Right? Being God, teaching people. You know what I'm saying? Sharing with people. You know, understanding their experience. You know what I mean? Yeah, Dark Kim, so the Puerto Rican side as opposed to other cities were meant. Yeah, absolutely. Don't forget the fact that other places do dominant culture isn't black. Fat Joe does because he's a part of dominant black culture. See, in other places, the black culture isn't dominant. Yeah, that's true. That's very true, God. That's very true. You know. I was telling people that the original, I always say this is part of my works, but the original and the first urban genre of music created in New York City that we could say is really developed in New York City alone is salsa. And many of the ethos, the nature, the intensity, the bravado, the braggadocio, the rhyming is all in the salsa. If you look all the clubs that hip hop would eventually go into, that's where salsa was already. You know what I mean? And I think that ex, that experience that we had in New York City, particularly the generation of the 60s and the 70s, and what we developed as salsa made hip hop very logical, made hip hop very logical, you know. The only difference is that the so-called African American, and I agree with KRS-One on this, they were the only ones that didn't have a verbal mouthpiece that hip hop only could give them. Whereas in salsa, his salsa was getting very lyrical. It talked about our situations. roots reggae absolutely was profound. You know what I mean? And so the Jamaicans that were here, they had a music that was talking about their realities, you know. But hip hop was kind of like putting all that together. It's very dynamic, you know. Yo, that's a fact. I gotta read that. It's two things in my opinion. Hispanic people have to recognize that at least half of their culture is African, and really, really a lot more, right? Really a lot more because if you, the truth is that really all the food is African. So especially the Latin Caribbean, the food is all African. So nearly all. So that would pretty take it over the half. You know what I mean? And black people in America have to accept that some Spanish people actually have more preserved history of us being African than we do in America. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, the bomba, you know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely. The jazz, because here's the thing about jazz that's so dynamic, right? I always give my favorite quote to show this. Dizzy Gillespie said that that it was the Latins, the Cubans and the Puerto Ricans that brought polyrhythms, meaning music with multiple rhythm sections, right? Intersecting is one. So this doesn't mean one drum and another drum playing the same rhythm. It means one drum or even a different kind of drum, but playing two different types of rhythm at the same time, polyrhythms. He said that it was the Puerto Ricans and Cubans that brought back those polyrhythms. The Puerto Ricans and Cubans were the ones that were coming here in the 1900s, and they actually had professional skills. So the ones that were darker were able to play with the jazz bands and play good stuff, whereas the lighter ones, right? Probably maybe a person like myself, if I didn't get tanned and shit and shaved off anything that looked ethnic, would be able to pass and play, more European music in the hotel scenes. You know what I mean? And the thing about it was those polyrhythms came with the drums, the congas, the bongos, because people it was the Latin Caribbean that were still playing these in a multitude of genres. You know what I mean? And already successful with them. And that infusion in show, because an interesting thing Dizzy said was that the polyrhythms are always there with black music. He said that the polyrhythms in jazz, until the Puerto Ricans and Cubans came, were in the horn section. You see? For like Latin Caribbean music, salsa, what would become salsa, but was really son, S-O-N, son, that was really coming from Cuba, right? And then all of the roots that come from it, rumba and bomba plena, right? All of those musics, the rhythm sections were as they normally would be, in the drums, in the polyrhythms in the drums, and in the piano. See, for when people listen to salsa, the piano is considered a percussion instrument, and for jazz, that polyrhythm was in the horn section. Like we could see, for example, the interplay of Dizzy Gillespie's trumpet and Charlie Parker's saxophone. That's the best example of polyrhythms that you can find. If you wanted the ideal, you know. But that Dark Him, you're definitely right and exact with that. You know what I'm saying? You know, and that's really where we came together. That's really where we came, because it is the improvisational core of jazz, being the classical music of America, right? And I'm a big jazz fiend. You know what I'm saying? And that is the core of what all music, recorded music, becomes after that. In fact, the all of the core of music after that, reggae is the newest music before jazz. All of that is coming from the improvisational realities of jazz. So the improvisation, making something out of nothing. The fact, here's the really rule: jazz is based on improvisation. People look at it like as the product of the music. It is not just that. It is in the player, that the player learns how to play correctly, and then, unlike other genres, he has to play it uniquely. Once he learns to play it uniquely, right, his own particular way, then he is a jazz player. And that improvisational ethos, that nature, is what infuses all Black culture and what opens us up to be creators that we are musically. You see, it changes son. Son had specific measures where you do your you do your. It wasn't really a solo like jazz. It was a highlight, horn highlight, selected solo. They're isolations. They're not really solos like in the way we know them to be. In jazz too, the word break actually meant the solo. You know what I'm saying? Later, break is better known as the break beat and the isolation that we take from a record, but the piece that we take from a record. You know what I mean? But this improvisation is what opened up all of music. It opened up all of music. That's why we're not only able to create original songs, we're able to create new genres. You know what I mean? It's amazing. It's amazing shit. I think it's the jazz was already there. The improvisational ethos was already there. So I wouldn't say Puerto Ricans came and they made jazz. It's that they extended where the improvisation would come from. So now the improvisation could go into the rhythm section. You see? And it wasn't in the rhythm section. So when you say that Latinos, like Latin Caribbean, they had an effect on every music after the funk. That's why when you look at the funk bands, why do you think that the funk bands, funk really is a concentration of the groove? And that's why jazz players hate it, because you concentrate and explore one particular groove, as opposed to leaving it, going to something else, which is more jazz. And you go into something, you leave it. That's the improvisation. With funk, you were exploring the groove. Well, that's why most of the great funk bands had conga players and bongo players all up in it. Kool and the Gang, Parliament Funkadelic, Mandrill. I mean, Mandrill's like the best example. Mandrill, you know what I'm saying? All of these groups. And all of these groups had like a Creole essence, which really was a inculcation of a lot of different, genres, you know what I mean, that were going into there. Because, again, New Orleans is a hotbed of all the original people. So when people talk even the foundation of jazz, it's not just one people, so-called African American. It's all of the cultures that are migrating and being brought into New Orleans, and that is the gumbo that is making jazz as well. That's why there's so many sounds, so many ideas. You only see that kind of mixture of original people again like that when you see hip hop develop, But that did gospel, blues, jazz, rock, rock and roll, funk, disco, hip. That's really indeed. You know what I mean? And I think so. Because it made it more overt. I think it made it more overt. I think that Dizzy Gillespie deciding to do that and putting him in the forefront like that, the percussion, he doesn't really get enough credit like that. You know what I'm saying? Partly because people don't understand, but also because Dizzy's playing was so next level. You know what I'm saying? That his own playing. See, Dizzy Gillespie gets the credit as putting all that together, and it changes it. But Dizzy Gillespie's playing is so next level that it's next level. You know what I mean? And really complete God like Bomba, Plena too, Plena, where you get the pandereta and you're just hitting that. It looks like a tambourine and you're just hitting it. And basically you have to sing about things that are going on. You're making up lyrics. You're freestyling the song. You know what I mean? War. Yeah, War is a great example, though. That's a Latin infused band. You know what I mean? There isn't really a great funk band in the 70s that doesn't have the percussion that we brought over, the congas, the bongos, and in the polyrhythmic nature. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because if there's a couple of musicians, God, but because of Tito Puente's playing and the way, because he was a lead, Tito Puente was the only major lead in the 40s and 50s of the bands, of the Latin dance bands, that was a leader of a band from the percussion section. So I'll tell. Let me see if I could. I give everybody an album that they can listen to and really see the depth of what Puente was bringing. There's an album that he has that is only percussion. And if you want to understand what polyrhythms, how polyrhythms can make a song with different voices, um, this is one of the greats. And it's my favorite album from Tito Puente, obviously. You know, a lot of mambo styles, and which is more the commercial song styles, they get kind of played out. But and so you know, sometimes it's not always a mood for all of his music. But listen to this record because he has Mongo Santa Maria, Willie Bobo, all of these guys, and it's all percussion. It's all percussion. You guys will love it. You know what I mean? I put the link in their YouTube so you can listen to the whole album. But it's fucking killer. You know what I'm saying? It's fucking killer. You know, and that's an old album. It's a very very old album. You know what I mean? That album is from 1955. So I mean, we were there a long time. You know what I mean? Yeah, so, yeah, he made sure his Nazis felt welcome. After he returned, we got blamed for everything. Yeah, yeah. Tito Puente was definitely in the hood. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I mean. And he was really the conduit to the younger generation that developed salsa. That was more brash, more sloppy. Because the order of it was, you had musicians that were taught how to play. But by the time you get to the 70s, late 60s and 70s, there is very few musicians that are schooled. So they're playing much more raw. You know, they're taught more by neighborhood teachers, and they're not really taught by school. They're not school taught. You know what I mean? And so even people like Tito Puente, they didn't really like the young musicians. Best example is how he used to call Willie Colon and Hector Lavoe a kiddie band. And if you hear early Willie Colon, Hector Lavoe records, right? They're very noisy. They're sloppy. You know what I mean? They got mad noise on them. You know what I mean? Um, three trombones in the studio, and it's just blaring and all sloppy. There's no balance. You know what I mean? But Lavoe's voice is so powerful that it cuts through everything. You know, and he became a legend, the goat, because Lavoe's my goat, but goat sonero. You know, but that's what it is. You know what I mean? But yeah, definitely. You know what I mean? Like I said, it is 9 o'clock. I know that Dark Kim definitely has some serious building that he has to do, a very special build. You know what I mean? And remembrance and perfection. You know? Yeah, that's true, God. Yeah, the folk singers couldn't play. You know, and like Miles Davis used to say, the rock bands can't play for shit, and they're making all the money. But that's one of the reasons he tried to. He infused rock into and made bitches brew. You know what I mean? He was seeing all these rock music. He said they can't play, and they making all this money. Word. And Motown, the Motown band, the Motown house band was jazz. They were a legendary jazz band. Earth, Wind, and Fire, yeah, of course. Ramsey Lewis. But Ramsey Lewis has some of the dopest funk records, but his early record, Ramsey Lewis Trio, is one of the most beautiful jazz albums you hear. You know what I mean? What's the name of that record? The In Crowd. The In Crowd. Beautiful record. Beautiful record. You know? But Ramsey Lewis's funk records were great too. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know what I mean? And I tell you though, like, I love all this shit. I love jazz. I'm obsessed with jazz. My children are forced to get education in jazz. You know what I mean? I'd be all up on it. You know what I'm saying? I'd be all up on it. You know? And if anybody like, yo, if you're into this and stuff and you want books, I have lots of great books, lots of great biographies. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, complete. That's the choice right there. You know what I'm saying? Like you can isolate those drums. You know what I'm saying? And you know, like I said, growing up, hip hop was considered nigga music, but also so is salsa. And when I used to blast Puente in percussion, that was as horrible as playing Onyx. You know, back the fuck up and have him yelling, or NWA or Wu Tang loud. You know what I'm saying? That was just as bad. You know what I mean? It's a tough ass record. You know what I mean? here's the thing. The way I grew up with the assimilationist approach, where Puerto Ricans can't really. We should learn. This is why I'm so well schooled in writing and everything like that, and well spoken, because my older didn't want me to speak wrong. She didn't want me to be made fun of for an accent like she was, and all of these things, and associate with lesser music and things like that because it's not really good. You know what I mean? And so it was pretty much assimilated, but hip hop was just too dope. And so that's where I gravitated to. By the time I'm a kid, and I'm born in 75, so by the 80s when I'm realizing what's out there, the problem is that 1980s salsa is starts to cross over, and it's very syrupy. So you get Frankie Ruiz and you get others, and they're all singing "Mujer baila," desnudate, mujer, get naked, shit like that. Like, it's becoming pop. So it's nice music, but it's not deep anymore. So that's not rugged enough. But when I was seeing hip hop, that was the shit. You know what I mean? Right? No, I never did that. I did not wear rubber bands on my pants to make them straight leg. You know what I mean? But that was not my style. I know I had plenty of whack styles, but that wasn't one of them. You know what I mean? But yeah, so like a lot of the engagement that I had with Latin music was only commercially. So like we only knew Jose Feliciano for singing the English song. But if you ever listen to Jose Feliciano's Spanish singing, his boleros, that means ballads in Spanish. They're mind blowing. You know what I'm saying? They're mind blowing. It's one of the great ballad singers of all time. Bolero singers, legendary. You know what I mean? And I was into hip hop first, and then I went back to my roots to learn salsa and stuff like that. And I learned it OG style. I went to Spanish Harlem. I built with OGs. Like I told people, I was building, and I got to build to the top. I was building with Willie Colon. I was building with other guys. You know what I mean? And I was learning the music that was what I consider the first urban genre. Of the music. You know what I'm saying? I'll tell you this though, as a young boy, as a young kid in school and everything, I never was tip top fashion, and low lives were everywhere. So like by the time I was in junior high, I was like, my fashion became good fashion when I started to work a little summer job. And then I started to buy my own sports gear because I was obsessed with sports. So I know I wasn't going to wear anything with ponies on it because that wasn't me. I wasn't with them. So I was like, why have to explain something with something that I can't even afford? You know what I mean? And so I just got into sports gear. And that's really where my fashion came from. I wasn't really a fashion king at all, by any means. So, I was pretty whack. Yeah, like typical Puerto Rican things. I was a horrible handball player. I'm probably the only Puerto Rican from the 80s that sucked at handball. And the reason I sucked at handball really was not because I wasn't practicing or not Puerto Rican enough. I was always nearsighted. I never wore glasses. I never went to get glasses. You know what I'm saying? So once that ball was hit, I never saw it again. Just like when I played baseball, I could never flag down a fly ball because I couldn't see it. I didn't have good depth perception because I was nearsighted. You know what I'm saying? But Lee jeans, we was fucking with though. I had Lee jeans, definitely was fucking with that. You know what I mean? But when you growing up in Medina in the 80s by junior high school time, as long as I didn't have polo on, everything was good. And I didn't want to take the time to figure out. I wasn't street. I wasn't doing anything like that. And in junior high school, I wasn't even into hip hop. I wasn't into music at all. So the things that people liked, I wasn't into. My ears were too slow to follow hip hop lyrics, so I didn't. Like I literally would hear songs and I couldn't follow them. So, I didn't really get into hip hop that well. Like people would recite Kane lyrics, and I couldn't even follow. I was like, I don't know what that nigga's saying. You know? And what it was for me was sports, man. It was just baseball and football, and then basketball. You know what I'm saying? That's all I cared about when I was in junior high school. Yeah, it was always like there was always we always saw some kind of confrontation. We knew that they weren't us. Like when I was a kid, right? There was in Sunset Park. There was very few black folk, but there was only one brother. And it's funny because that childhood friend became my first DJ, my man War, and when I first did radio, but it was pretty much 90% Puerto Rican. If you weren't Puerto Rican, you were saying you was Puerto Rican. So niggas that was Dominican, they were saying that's Puerto Rican. You know what I mean? And we always knew that we was different than white folk, always. And we always knew, like we said, listen, you light, but you Puerto Rican, but you not white. We used to always say that. I used to always say that to my sister too, even as a kid. You know what I'm saying? Because she's mad light. She real light skinned it, you know. So that was always a thing. You know what I mean? And of course, there were in Sunset Park, there was always different ethnicities that you would know that some of the differences, like you would get along with Italians. There was a lot of Italians there. Like all through my childhood, I had an Italian barber and stuff. So that culture I was around and stuff like that. You know what I mean? You know? Right? Yeah, I think when I was a kid, the jeans that I liked the most was Lee, that I thought was the coolest shit, you know? But I never had beef. I never had beef. You know what I'm saying? I never had drama. You know what I mean? Below average breakdancer. You know what I'm saying? But if all we saw in the movies was Puerto Ricans b-boying, what do you think that we would do? Like in Sunset Park in the 80s, you didn't see too many people rhyming. They would just breakdance. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what they saw in movies. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know? It's only in Sunset, it was only until the early 90s, then Dominicans and Mexicans and stuff start rolling in, you know? And then it changes though. But like when I was a little kid, 80s was all it's just us. It's just Puerto Ricans, you know? You know, but we always knew that we was different. You know what I'm saying? We always knew that we was different. You know? And we had white teachers though, and they would remind you that you was different too. A lot of people don't know that. You know? White teachers teaching all Puerto Rican classrooms, they would let you know that you were different. You know what I'm saying? That you would definitely not. You know what I'm saying? Because they would tell you you're not white and that you're black, a different type of black though, in a very derogatory way, and that would infuriate Puerto Ricans because we're taught that we're not black. So then we would try to counter that, and for the wrong reason. You know what I'm saying? We try to counter that for the wrong reason. Not that they're being racist toward us and derogatory, but because they're associating us. You know what I mean? So that's where all that division comes from. It's really them fomenting. Yeah. Yeah, actual fact. Yeah, actual fact, though, Kim. Yeah. Word. That's crazy, though. See, now when I go read tonight, though, when I spend the night reading, I don't know what I'm gonna listen to. Because now you got all this Latin music in my head and all this jazz. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But like one of my plus lessons is about called the justice curriculum and different fields of study that we have to engage in. And I think when it comes to music, we have to develop a palette. You know what I'm saying? You have to develop a palette, just like with all things. And it's very important that you learn to listen to all different type of things, even if you have your favorite type of music. You know what I mean? You have to develop your palette, you know? So if you don't care for it, if you never care for salsa, you should find out who the best are and listen to them. If you don't care for jazz, you should find the best and at least be aware of the best quality of it, though. You know, I even do it with genres. Like, I'm not the biggest rock fan, but there's a lot of rock I really love. You know what I'm saying? And that's because I expanded my palette, you know, and it helps, you know, you find some professionals, some people that really love it, you know, that enthusiasts, you know, my twin brother's an enthusiast. So I got all the good records, you know, and of course I find my lane that I like about it best, but I try to engage in all of it though. You know what I'm saying? You know, so like a lot of styles of rock I don't really care for too much, but I've taken the time to listen to the best quality versions of it, you know, and it's good for your palate. You know what I'm saying? It's good for your palate. Just like when they say children, their best palate. You know what I'm saying? Mm. You know? Oh, that's peace, God. You know? Yo, you didn't know. Yo, let me tell you something, God. My twin brother was the first person I took through 120, but it really wasn't for him like that. You know what I'm saying? You know, it really wasn't for him, Dark Kim. Like, I'm gonna share with you a pic. We don't look the same today. Like, you could easily tell us apart. You know what I'm saying? Um, when we were kids, we were identical. We're identical twins. Today we look totally different, but we just look like brothers now. But like, you know, very similar looking brothers. So like, the more you look, our voices are very similar. You know, but he was the first that I got through 120. You know, like I said, teach your family first. I said I got a twin. I came out the womb with somebody. He getting this shit. I don't give a fuck if you like it. And I kind of forced 120 down his throat. Like I made him like recite that shit, you know. But it was sharing something with somebody so they could be a righteous man. Because like he don't eat the swine though. You know, he has a righteous marriage. He lives a positive lifestyle. Like, you know, he does righteousness. He doesn't do devilishment. You know what I mean? So, right. But yeah, he's my twin brother. Like, same mom and pop. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know. So like, yeah. So yeah, we identical twins, same parents. You know. Yeah. Yeah. If you if you had met him, you would have said, nah. Yeah. 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 But if you hear us talk about things, about certain subjects and stuff, then you know that we're brothers. You know what I'm saying? Then you know that we're brothers. You know. But yeah, most people wouldn't know. You know what I'm saying? Our voices have almost the same tone. You know what I'm saying? Mine's is a little bit deeper. You know what I mean? But we have the same tone. You know, right? Indeed. You know. Yeah, but that's funny though. A lot. Some of the gods that know him, like Infinite Mind knows my brother. You know, like a lot of the gods, because I brought him around to learn kung fu, so they know him. You know, Day Sun obviously knows him. You know what I'm saying? We all went to college together. Yeah, you know. It's about bridging that. You know what I'm saying? It's the balance between that universal and human family is difficult. You know what I'm saying? I think as we get older, sometimes it gets easier in some ways because they kind of see, if you're not building, they're not going to see the fruits of your labor. You know what I'm saying? The thing about, they don't bear witness to us having a universal family unless they see that we have fruits to this labor. You know what I'm saying? You better have done some shit, you know? But it doesn't always translate to them saying that even in the fields that you were experts in, you know, that they would know. You know, my brother does a lot of plays. He does a lot of improv. He's an actor. He lives out in Hollywood. He's been in some Lifetime movies as an extra. um COVID really slowed down like his movie film progress though. You know what I'm saying? But he stays doing stuff, you know what I mean? Word. I actually have one old picture with my brother at at the school when Kaleem was in there. You know what I mean? When Kaleem was there, and because we was in there and with the pictures when he had all the photos on the wall and shit like that. We took a pic in there. I think probably Day Son took that pic too, man. But yeah, that shit was a long time ago. Yeah, but everything is real. Everything is real, man. All these things taught me. I mean. Oh shit. That's crazy, God. That's crazy. I think my family sees more of what it built now because they see how many people I've taught. You know what I mean? But all they have remembrance is me missing Thanksgivings on purpose. You know what I mean? Uh, going to class on purpose, not being available every single Thursday. A lot of people don't know what that's like. You know what I mean? Like, there are very few Thursdays where I could tell you that there's only less than a handful of Thursdays where I did something else. You know what I'm saying? If I didn't teach class, like let's say eliminate emergency, just a thing that I really wanted to do, almost none. Oh, I can't even think. Like there's like Thursdays where I can't, and I feel weird. You know what I'm saying? Like, because the way my life has been, once this class is finished, is now the beginning of my week. This class is the end of my week. I end the class now. This is the end of my week. And now I start to build. You know what I'm saying? So once this class ends and I log off or I leave the school, I don't know shit. You know? Yeah, man. I remember all that. I remember we used to always go to Freedom's place, the Bronx Telnet. You know what I'm saying? And I would just roll with you guys. I would just be doing the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't even say anything. I wasn't really, I never was talkative. You know what I mean? I laugh because I be with Prince Power Rule all the time because we're part of the Leftovers. We got the Leftovers crew and collective and shit, anti-gentrification group collective. And he'd be like, yo, you only build when they turn on that microphone. And I'm like, yo, that's the way we was taught. Like, in my whole life, though, I've never been around so many people that knew so much. I was like, I think it's best to shut the fuck up. And I just got in a good habit of shutting the fuck up. You know what I mean? And not speaking. People ask me how you learn all this shit. I do it's like when I'm reading. I don't talk when I'm reading. So when I would listen to people, I shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? And a lot of times the gods, though, they want to build. And if you just sit there and listen, you get everything. You keep it straight up. I'm not no snitch. I don't say shit. I don't, in my whole career, whether life is my life being a god or my career as a journalist, though, no one will tell me some shit that is personal or something like shit and then hear it somewhere else. And I know I've been tested. I know people have told me stuff that's only for me, and they find out that no one else ever knew about it. There's no snitch in me. I don't dry snitch. I don't do any of that shit. There's no dry snitch in me. I don't speak. You know? Yeah. Right. Shamar, yeah, Kashim, yeah, Kashim, Saquon, yeah. The same thing, God. Yeah. I just was like, yeah, doing the knowledge though. And it's like Darkim, I wish that I had so many schooling. I even had, like I said, I was mentioning before, my first mentor was Dr. David Travelso, who I still have a great relationship with to this day. He was my first mentor in college. but I never really, I never been in a cipher, and I've been in a lot of ciphers. You know what I mean? I'm Young Lords, all of that, legendary Young Lords, all these. I never been in a cipher like the gods, where like everybody was so well learned. You know? Yeah, so well learned. See, I think a lot of times students, I'll tell you one thing, a folly of a student, since, like most people can't do it on a digital form, but the folly of most students is that they're excited by the knowledge and they want to say back the knowledge in their own way every 5 seconds. And that's also a result of learning outside in the street. You have to learn how to soak it up and shut the fuck up. If you're in a classroom, the way you combat that is opening up your notebook and taking some fucking notes. You know what I mean? Take the note. Don't regurgitate. Take the note. You know what I'm saying? And that's really the way, because when you do all that other stuff, though, you end up talking forever. I used to be so many people, and I didn't realize how much they would talk, and I would know. That's really where I started to learn and really be able to gauge. And I know Dark Kim knows this too, that we kind of could gauge who's going to come back and who's not. You know what I mean? And that's one of the cues. I'm giving a secret here, but that's one of the cues. You know what I mean? Yeah, like when I started teaching, I just like I wasn't trying to say like I have to teach it this way because this is the right way and everybody has it wrong. That actually wasn't my thing. What I was doing was I was like, wait, Dayson set up this class, knew that I would teach it. Dayson knew that I would teach it, and he knew that he would not come. And you know what I mean, Dark Kim. And I was like, Prince is here, Kalim is there, Dumar's always around, all these people around. What the hell do I have to offer? Well, let me construct this curriculum around the things that I love. You know what I'm saying? Because the things I love that have been useful to me, reading, writing, communication skills, and let me format that into the civilization class, And it was really about trying to use the things that I love that I know will be useful because they're demanded of everybody. And then that would be something for everybody, And so it goes against the regular way of teaching, because it introduces a lot of orthodox ways of teaching, a lot of standard ways of teaching in the westernized world into our way of teaching, but I wasn't injecting them to be revolutionary. You know what I'm saying? I knew that they would be because I needed them just to be unique, to be special, so that way I just wouldn't be redundant, But that's really how all that goes, you know what I mean? How all that got developed, Yeah, a lot of, yo, Dark Kim, a lot of people talk shit. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people talk shit, but they very rarely come through and challenge. They very rarely come through. You know what I'm saying? They rarely come through and, you know, it, they don't come anymore. You know what I'm saying? So if they have a problem and stuff like that, you know what I mean? I will say this, though. I judge the worth I judge the worth of the teachings that I've shared, the way that I've taught, by the quality of life and development of the student. Because I know that if I judge it based on who becomes God, who is God, and who isn't, then I'm judging it on something that is not my play to make. That's their play. You know what I'm saying? Because you could rush a student into 120 and get them to be the God, and they'll be God for a very select amount of time, or not very useful. I don't think that's the way. Yeah, they don't, God. They don't, And I'll tell you one thing, God, like, I think it's something, God, because I knew I wasn't and it's from a world of hip hop too. I wasn't the standard. I didn't do things in the street. I didn't do any of these things. But people don't understand that the way that I've learned was from many disciplines. So before I got knowledge, I was actually, I knew how to learn from the university, but I also learned how to learn grassroots, meaning street. People think street crime, but I learned grassroots. I was already radicalized. I was learning from grassroots movements. You know what I'm saying? I was already a revolutionary. I was already learning how different revolutionary groups teach and how they learn. So I was already learning from a very clandestine, like I used that word before, a very underground way of learning. All these styles of learning, I was already engaged with, you know? That's what a lot of people didn't really know, you know? Absolutely, Dark Kim. Absolutely. Yeah. You know, absolutely. You know, there are so many things that I don't relate to in the Spanish world, in the Latin world. You know what I'm saying? And it's funny because, like, when I watch television and film, right? And I, like I told you, my brother, he's in film and television. I watch a lot of film. I can't really enjoy films if I try to relate to the Latin characters or if I try to relate to the black characters or I try to relate to the white characters. And after a while, I was like, yo, man, our lives, like, even just as 5%, our lives are so fucking different. There are no characters we could really relate to on any kind of level. That also helped me write about the music. I'm able to write about the music because none of these niggas' lives I relate to on every level. On every level, there's like many, it's multifaceted, everybody's life. On mostly every level, I have to learn how to empathize, how to relate. Because not only do I not relate to everybody's aspect of life, but directly, I realized over the years that they don't relate to mine. And nobody does, you know, nobody has lived this life. You know what I'm saying? Nobody has lived the life I've lived. You know what I mean? And that's what makes it so beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Because we could do the not, you know, we're able to do the knowledge to all things. Like when they say, when people look for the mystery God, God is supposed to understand all ways of life. You know what I'm saying? Some of those realities we should be able to do too. You know, some of those fantastical things attributed to the mystery God and to the cosmic God and to the thing that is non-existent and fantastical and not true are actually some of the traits that we need to have, that way to empathize with all things. Because if we're the true and living God, we chose the right and exact way. So that means that to a very large extent, deep down, the most worst of the worst and evil of the evil, we could never really understand it for what it is. You know what I'm saying? There are levels that we could not understand. And what I also found is that even if you could always use the horrors that you went through to empathize, there will always be a human situation that is so fucking out of bounds with what you dealt with that you can only empathize. You like, man, this guy went, you know, I don't know, man. I ain't never been in, you know, and that has happened to me so much that, you know, it shows me. That's why I say, like, yo, would we be able to teach original people that live a good, healthy life, that never dealt with oppression and shit? You know, this is why our nation, like, we only really get as a psychological profile. We usually get people that have been fucked up by the man. They say, well, Sunez, you just said you didn't live street life, shit like that. I didn't say I wasn't fucked up by the man, you know, and cops and shit like that. You know what I mean? Or people like me that are radicalized and know that the devil's the devil. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's what makes it so powerful. You know what I mean? Man, God, like, it's not, yeah, it's powerful. It's powerful, God. You know, it's powerful. These people have been such a powerful influence, man. You know? The way that I am influenced, though, should be the same way that you all influence, if it really is profound and can go out there and do this, you know what I'm saying? But yo, Darkim, I've been on this for 3 hours though, so that's the length of this class session, you know. And Darkim, I definitely want you to get on this live too, you know what I mean, and build what you gotta build, you know, because it's really profound and important, you know. But anybody that wants to build, email me sunez97@gmail.com. If you're on the social media, yo, all that hip hop shit, the books I've written, all that other shit, you know what I mean? You know, get at me. You know what I'm saying? I got all that shit. And I'm gonna have a lot of books. I have a poetry book coming. I have a book I'm reading on a peace course book about just philosophies of teaching. You know what I'm saying? It's not a book where you buy it and you're like, oh, I took the peace course. I read the book. No, this is not like a book from the movie. You know what I mean? Like we made a book of the movie. Nah. It's just different ideas, pedagogical ideas. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, God. Yeah. Indeed, God. So I'm gonna let everybody go. You know what I mean? I am going to I'm gonna read and write. You know what I mean? That's what I'm gonna do for the rest of the night, though. All right. Peace to the gods. You know what I mean? The Dark Kim's old earth, remembered in perfection, because that's the best way to remember. You know what I mean? The supremacy. You know what I mean? And that's why I came up with that. Remembered in perfection. You know, nothing is perfect. Everything that is perfect is already finished. You know, a great Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On" is a perfect album. But the reality of the true and living God is imperfection, always developing, always getting greater and greater, always in its self-development. It's always in perfection. And we remember everything great, everyone great. We remember them in perfection. You know what I mean? The state that they were always in. All right. So until next time, peace.